Hello, this is Gabriel Thibault with Breaking Expectations, a podcast about the joys of disability and all that it includes. Here you'll hear stories and roundtables of individuals who have gone through different journeys in their lives than the one that you think you'll take. But the twist of it is, if you're lucky enough, you'll take this journey too.
Hi, good afternoon. We're back on Breaking Expectations. I'm Donald Barrie, and I'm here with my pal. Let's say, first of all, that I'm hosting this panel, and I'm a person with a disability, and also a published journalist and writer, and it's great to be on the panel today, and I'll let everyone introduce themselves first.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Kate Welsh. I'm a disability activist and artist in Toronto, Ontario, and I make art around disability. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
And I'm Benson. I'm a student and a disability advocate. You may hear a little bit of noise as I'm speaking, what I call Darth Vader noises. I'm also on a ventilator, so you may hear the ventilator helping me to breathe.
I'm Stévia. I work in social services and as a PSW, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay, question I have for the panel today is, when did you start to see that there were benefits or moments of joy due to having a disability?
Would you like me to fire off, Don?
Paul, yes.
Okay, right. Well, my background is I was diagnosed with MS in 1976. And for a long time, I was not identifying strongly as a person with a disability. I could pass. So I chose to pass as able-bodied. And it was only when my level of disability was increasing, I started to recognize the benefits of being a person with disability and what it gave me when I recognized the strength and the identity that gave me. So I started to show increasing symptoms. People recognized me as a person with disability, and I started to connect with others in a deeper way. So I went from attempting to live a very independent life, which was becoming increasingly difficult, to living an interdependent life where I was reliant on services from others, but I was also able to assist others in certain ways. And that gave me a much richer life. So through interdependence, I found that I could leverage my disability and become, I would say, a more complete human being. And that is my source of joy, is identifying as a person with a disability and recognizing that we're all here for each other. And that change of lifestyle is a big improvement for me and gives me joy.
How about you?
I agree with you, Paul. I've found a lot of joy in being interdependent and relying on other people and other people relying on me. I feel like having a disability has made me trust people more, because I have to trust people more, and by trusting people I have stronger relationships with people, and that brings a lot of joy. I feel like before I was identifying with my disability, I was very isolated and alone. And after I started identifying with disability, I found community, and I found love, and I found laughter, and I found all the good things that bring joy to my life. And I like, there's a lot of, I think it's like flipping, like for me, being disabled is joyful. And I know that for able-bodied people, it seems like the opposite, like that, that being disabled has misery or whatever. But I feel like really happy now that I've owned my disability and have been a disability activist and all of the different things, and have made art around disability. It's like my disability has like given me meaning and joy in life.
For me, really starting to recognize that chronic pain was in fact a disability, because I think I was in denial about it for a while. Um, I recognize my limited vision as a disability. I recognize being on the autism spectrum as being perceived as a disability. Um, but I prefer the word inabilities there. But chronic pain, I just saw it as something I had to push through. And I think that once I started to be around, I started to work with a group of disabled folks, Cyborg Circus, where everybody was just happily doing what they wanted to do. You know, there's dance and art and all this stuff. And I realized that accepting the fact that I had limited abilities didn't mean that I had to be limited. So accepting it and it opened me to being able to find things to help with the pain. And I found joy then in being able to go about a daily life not having to be stopped by pain constantly, like being better able to manage it. And I found a lot of joy in being able to do that, getting out more, interactive more, not having to be cranky because I was in too much pain to even move. So yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Just out of curiosity, I've had experience with pain myself, with more bone pain. If I say had a fracture, hasn't happened in a while, well, I'm wondering how are you able to navigate through the pain to maintain a sense of joy. Right? I'll explain that I find that, I did find when I would be injured, that I would find activities even when I was limited or say in bed, for example, I'd be able to find things to keep me happy and active in some way, even through limitations. But how about you? You find that? Did you have similar experiences?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to get involved more now. That is easier to manage the pain of just moving. Yeah.
I kind of agree with both of you. I'm just thinking about like times where I've like needed to be in bed or at home or whatever. And it's interesting. I feel like because I have, because my disability um, may not allow me to like physically move around as much, I found like other ways to keep myself occupied, like art and podcasts and other things. And it's interesting. I'm just thinking about this like weird time that we're in with COVID, and people are saying like, oh, they're so bored at home and things like that. And because I've always had to figure out ways to not be bored because of my disability, I feel like I never get bored, and that's like a part of joy for me, is like I never get bored. And because I have things that I know how to do where I'm not having to leave the house or move my body.
Yes, I'd like to pick up on that one, Kate, because that absolutely ties in with my experience. Um, the days are very full. And I think you're right in that we have, as it were, insurance against boredom because we've spent our time developing ways to be engaged with life despite having to overcome certain challenges. So we're flexible. We're able to react to things, and we can lead very full, very rewarding lives when others might see us as being very limited, and our lives, as you mentioned before, as being rather miserable. By contrast, life is rich and just keeps getting better. There's a thing they talk about, the disability paradox, that even as you face increasing levels of disability, your quality of life very often goes up. So, for instance, as late stage MS, I've lost a great deal of movement, so I am technically quadriplegic. But this has been one of the best periods of my life in terms of how much I'm capable of doing, and also the joy I take in being able to do this work. And I wonder to what extent we've all experienced that. You've already described it a little bit. Perhaps you want to talk a little more on that.
Well, I like what you said, Paul. Insurance against boredom. I'm always taking out insurance against boredom. I fight through it a lot, and obviously we all do get bored sometimes. The first two, well, you mentioning COVID, well, first 2 weeks it took me a while to adjust because I felt a jarring effect. One thing conversation with recently with David Army, he told me, and this stood out, that we're very good problem solvers. As people with disabilities, we're able to find ways out of situations that are either bad or just uncomfortable.
Well, I actually interviewed a young lady called Mayan Ziv.
Yeah,
And
I know her.
yeah, she's amazing. And she made that same point, Don. Um, she said that in her experience, persons with disabilities are great problem solvers because things come up and we have to find ways around them. For instance, when I lost the ability to move my hands significantly, I couldn't operate a keyboard. So here I am today. I'm operating my computer hands-free. You can see a little dot on my glasses. I'm actually moving the mouse pointer around based on head movement. So as I move my head left and right, up and down, a little sensor is bouncing off that little reflector so that I've got mouse movement. So obviously I've had a lot of help in solving these technical issues, but the issue is resolved and I'm able to be productive. Here at my wheelchair with my desk in front of me, even in the hospital room where I'm a long-term patient, I'm having one of the most productive periods of my life.
Oh,
And I take a lot of joy in that.
Yeah, like sometimes when I think of problem solving, one thing that I say is that people with disabilities were inherently more creative, because we have to be so creative with our lives and how to do different things, be it like sustain ourselves, like cook or whatever, right? Or move the mouse. And so I personally think that like as people with disabilities, we're like we're more creative than other people in the world because we have to be more creative. And I found that my disability actually like makes me have that different like set of brain skills to be more creative with like art supplies and those type of things, just as I'm more creative with how my kitchen is set up and things like that.
Yeah, I can relate to all what you just said. And it feels good. It's made me feel good, and I've had a disability my entire life, and that's the only life I've known, and it's been good being able to have that gift, or what we call it a gift, still.
The other thing that I might put forward for everybody's thoughts on is, for me, increasing disability brought into focus what I'm here to do. Uh, this may not be a perfect quote, but this is Mark Twain. He said there are, two important days in your life: the day you're born and the day you discover why. Now, I feel that I've discovered why I was born through disability. I'm here to speak because I have a voice and I can be a presence. I'm here to speak about the disability experience and how it is informing my life and others who haven't had, as Gabe would say, the privilege of experiencing disability may not have that richness of experience. They may go through life not really knowing what they're here to do. And through my experiences, I've discovered, and I'm very clear, that I've got a lot of years ahead of me to speak up about the disability experience and that interdependency, that relying on community, being a participant at every level. And for me, that is a tremendous gift that I've gained through disability.
I agree with that, Paul. I feel like disability has given me kind of like a life path. And I'm grateful for disability because it's taught me so many things, and it's taught me like what is really important in life is like friends and family and chosen family and community and like equal rights and equity and that kind of thing, right? Is like I feel like without disability I wouldn't be as good of a person, maybe. Like I wouldn't be as in touch with things if I didn't have a disability.
People are labeled vulnerable, right? Show empathy for them as well.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a better person and I'm better at interacting with other people and I'm better at a job and I'm better at caretaking my dog and all of the things because I have a disability and I know what it's like to need to be taken care of, and I know what it's like to have expectations for myself and to just treat other people as people rather than like yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll just add that blending into communities has always been a goal for me, even when I didn't think of it as a goal necessarily. It evolved over time. And I find now as an adult that I'm more tuned into this, say, disability community and the mainstream community I've always had an eye on as well. I want to blend the communities, make them one.
Yes, the other aspect of community I've discovered is that I've met a variety of people that I might not have expected to meet. So, through being connected with the disability community, I've shared somewhat in other people's experiences in a way that is unlikely if I'd had no disability, or if I hadn't had an increasing level of disability. That's introduced me to a community that I might otherwise have completely missed. And that's something that has definitely enriched my life.
Yeah, I feel like I would be stuck in like a little bubble if I didn't have interactions where I could meet other disabled folks and have that immediate connection, because like it's not very often in our lives that we like interact with people super different than us, right? And so it's nice. I feel like disability, because there is so much difference in disability, it gives me a chance to have more rich and meaningful conversations, because I am connected to people who I wouldn't normally or otherwise be connected to.
Community has offered me a chance to really get to know more about my own disability. I'm coming from a country where, yes, there's a disabled community, but it's not as, I guess, vibrant as the ones here. So it's like a very big change of pace for me, and like feeling accepted into a community that has people who are, understanding exactly what you're going through. That has been definitely a big help for me. Yeah.
And also brings joy, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's wonderful to have other people around us.
Well, yeah. When I say big help, I mean it definitely helped me to like feel more comfortable, live in more of a joyous space. Being, yeah.
Yeah, well, being able to hear all your stories and perspectives has brought me joy as well.
Yes, one aspect I didn't expect to come across is I've recently been taking courses through the program in disability studies at Ryerson University. And I've been exposed to stories of people diagnosed with mental illness, and whether those diagnoses are valid or in fact just another aspect of ableism is another discussion. But I was amazed at how much of a different insight I got based on doing that study, being exposed to stories of people diagnosed with mental health issues, because it added a whole new area to my area of thinking that I hadn't previously considered. And through being involved in a much broader group, there's this thing they talk about, same like me. If we're not pushed, we will just tend to associate with a very narrow group of people that we identify as being just like me. But through disability, I've been exposed to such a broad range of different abilities, the, the experience of difference that otherwise I would have been completely blind to. That again is a source of joy, just seeing the variations in ways of perceiving what is a good life.
That's great, and I remember when disability studies program started, and I believe it was the first one in Canada, right? Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
20 years ago, I remember when it was starting up, and I was in the process of graduating from the journalism program at Ryerson. It's good to see that the program is still there. A lot of graduates in 20 years, and very important program to have. Preserve our histories and our stories, and to educate and enlighten others. All right. Well, any final words you'd like to pass on? What takeaways would you give people?
Yes, I would say that some of the joy is just sharing with others that life can be so much more, so much richer when you're involved with community and with such a wide range of community that you can really celebrate the diversity of life that's out there. And rather than being in this narrow silo where you just associate with others having the same experience. There's so much more to life. And that's a discovery that's given me great joy, is discovering the breadth of life. So that's my takeaway. That's what I exist to do now, is to share that message that life is so wide in terms of different experiences. And the more we share those experiences, the richer it is for all of us.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for everybody. Thank you for this discussion. It's going to help a lot of people, and I hope we'll get to share it with others soon.
Yeah, thanks, Don.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Expectations, a podcast about the joys of disability. This podcast was made possible with the support of the Centre for Independent Living in Toronto and the Ontario Trillium Fund. Please subscribe to our channel and visit our Facebook and Instagram pages. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment below. Remember that if you don't have a disability now, if you're lucky enough, you'll live long enough to get one. Goodbye till next time.